This is an Intertron model 302A three-phase welding control. The number that's in the window when you first turn it on is your schedule number. That is changed by the thumb wheel right here. When you ever change that thumb wheel, it changes the schedule number on the window. So we're going to start off on schedule 1. You have some toggle switches here. First toggle switch is repeat. Down is always off, up is on. Repeat will be in a function to where when you hold your foot on the pedal, the welder will come down, weld, and then go back up and then come down and weld again for the off time that is supplied by you right here. Turn that off, it'll come down and weld once, and then you have to put your foot on the pedal a second time to weld another time. Weld is on, off. That's off, that's on. Tip dress, you hit tip dress, your head will come down so with a lower pressure so you can tip dress. Next, weld schedule. That just puts you from schedule 1 to schedule 2 if you flip it. Seam spot roll. That always needs to be in the spot function mode. The polarity, you always want that in alternate polarity, so it will weld on opposite sides of the transformer. While it's welding, it doesn't saturate the transformer that way. If you weld always on one side, it will saturate the transformer and you'll start taking out circuit breakers. You have tip travel time, pre-compression time, squeeze time, impulse, cool time, heat percent, heat decay time, heat decay percent, hold time, off time, and your forge time. To program this, all you have to do is hit the red button and an LED will come on, and whatever LED is on, the value in the window is your data. So right now we have 0 tip travel time, which is okay for what you're doing. For a spot welder, you don't need tip travel time and you don't need pre-compression time. All we have to worry about is the squeeze time. So we scroll down with the red button, the squeeze time, and the amount of squeeze time is the amount of time it takes your tips to come together, build up pressure before it welds. If your squeeze time is too short, your tips will come down, your squeeze time will be over, you'll already be starting your weld time, and you'll come down hot and you'll blow holes in your part. So you always want to have enough squeeze time to come down and build up pressure before you fire. Impulses is a multiplier of the heat and heat percent, or the heat time and heat percent. If you have one impulse, it's going to come down and weld at the heat time and heat percent one time. If you have 5 impulses, it's going to come down, before it releases, it's going to weld the heat time and heat percent 5 times. So it's a multiplier of your heat and heat percent. The cool time is the amount of time in between impulses. So if you have 5 impulses, it'll come down, and in between each one of those impulses, it will cool whatever you have in the window, 1 cycle or whatever you put in there. The heat time is how long the transformer is actually on in cycles. There's 60 cycles in 1 second. So right now we have it at 16 cycles. So it's going to weld at 16 cycles, move to the next one, heat percent at 70%. So what you're going to do is you're going to come down and weld at 16 cycles at 70%. And I believe that's the numbers we have for your product right now to weld with. The heat time decay, you always want to put 1 cycle in there at about 10% decay, so that bleeds off the transformer after it's welding, so you don't have an EMF after you're done welding. The hold time is the amount of time your tips stay together after it's done welding, so you don't release the tips while the weld is still molten. Off time again only comes in effect if you have repeat on. That'll be the time that the heads come up and stay up with your foot on the pedal before it comes back down and does your repeat weld. Okay, real simple to program. As you scroll through it, whatever LED is on, that's the data in the window. Okay, now to do heat time and heat percent rapidly, because after you set up everything, typically that's all you're changing. You can hit the heat time button, it goes right to heat time. You can hit the heat percent button, it goes right to heat percent. The same thing with decay and decay percent. So once you're there, you can change the numbers in it. Heat percent, let's go 80%. Real simple to change. You don't have to hit enter. Once it's there, it's there. But we want to leave that at 70% right now because that's what you're welding with. The forge, that comes into effect in the middle of your weld. If you have forge delay on there, or forge variable, and you put in a forge delay, what will happen is it will drop out the buck pressure on the bottom of your cylinder so you get the full force of the weld, and you put it in the middle of your weld typically so you don't crack welds. So if you have 16 cycles of weld time, you would want your forge delay to be 8 cycles. So at 8 cycles your forge will drop out and all the pressure of the head will be on your tips. And typically that's for aluminum welding. So if you leave it on forge low, you don't have any forge at all, which is where we need to be for your part. I just wanted to explain what it was so you won't panic when you see it. Other than that, it's a fairly simple control. Again, to get in weld mode, anytime you're in a program mode, you hit the star button, puts you in weld mode and back to your schedule. It won't weld unless it's in a schedule mode, which means all these lights are off except your forge low light, and that means that's your schedule.